I've had it. I want a divorce, Daniel shouted, pushing me away before locking himself in the room. That day, I was scheduled to leave for a business trip, so I didn't have time to talk things over with Daniel any further. I just left the house as it was. The day after our fight, when I was yelled at and pushed away, I returned from my trip. I'm home. There, on the desk, was a completed divorce application form. I was surprised at how quickly Daniel had made his decision, but I saw it as a good opportunity. It would be troublesome if Daniel started to hesitate now. You said to file it, so I will. I signed the divorce application and took it to the office. My name is Harper. I work at a mid-sized architectural firm as a licensed architect. I'm turning 30 this year and am in the 4th year of marriage with my husband, Daniel. I've participated in architectural magazine competitions and even won a special jury prize, which has led to various job offers coming my way. Despite being busy, I lead a fulfilling life. With one exception. Daniel works for a major housing manufacturer. We got acquainted when Daniel's company hosted an architectural design competition, and we worked on a building project together. That's how we started dating and eventually got married. We both enjoy hiking and visiting famous buildings, which helped deepen our relationship. Initially, we used to travel a lot together, but lately, we hardly go out at all. At the beginning of our marriage, we talked about wanting children once we settled down, but honestly, I'm glad we don't have any now. Why am I glad we don't have children? Because of Daniel's drastic change in behavior. At the start of our marriage, he was kind and always caring for me, but after a while, he stopped doing anything around the house. We bought a detached house with land in the suburbs after getting married, but Daniel does absolutely nothing at home. He doesn't even clean up his own dishes, let alone take out the trash. I can tell where Daniel has been in the house just by the trail he leaves behind. He drops his clothes as he walks. From the entrance to the bedroom, the bathroom, leaving socks, ties, and jackets strewn about. Yet, he complains when the room isn't tidy. I can't count how many times I've questioned what kind of person he is. Before we got married, Daniel and I had decided on a division of household chores. He was responsible for taking out the trash, cleaning the bathroom, and cleaning up after meals. Well, that arrangement lasted for only the first week we lived here. I've asked Daniel to do his share of the chores many times, but each time, housework is a woman's job, is what Daniel would retort. That's not true. Don't make it about gender. I'd argue back, not backing down. Men are supposed to work. I'm taking my job seriously, so it's only natural for you to handle the chores, he'd say before storming off to the bedroom. I had no idea I was marrying someone with such outdated views on gender roles. He never let on during our dating days. Maybe he's always been like this. Just wearing a mask until we got married. I feel deceived, and it's incredibly frustrating. I think Daniel's blatant defiance towards me has something to do with our careers as well. My career is going well, and I rarely lose at design competitions. After leaving the company, my former boss, who started his own firm, even proposed a partnership with me. Though Daniel earns more monthly, when you add up my competition winnings and special bonuses, I end up making more annually. He probably doesn't like that. His pride can't handle it. I consistently study architecture, but I've never seen Daniel study anything. When he's at home, he's either agonizing over whether to spend money on smartphone games or actually doing it. Daniel's a big spender, barely contributes to household finances, and uses most of his salary for himself. I've asked him to cut back on game purchases and contribute more to our household, given our future plans. But at that, Daniel exploded, hurling his smartphone to the floor. So, you want my hard-earned money? What a greedy woman you are. I had no idea you were so materialistic. I was stunned by his cruel words and couldn't help but cry. If I had said something terrible, I'd understand. But my concerns were for our household and our future. Why kept running through my mind, filled with questions. Moreover, I found out from a coworker that Daniel has been spreading rumors at his workplace about me being a stingy, greedy housewife who doesn't give him pocket money, garnering sympathy from his colleagues. This was a shock to me. According to that coworker, I'm known as the stingy, greedy housewife at Daniel's company, and he's been receiving consolation from everyone. Whether it's competitiveness or pride, I can't believe he'd speak so ill of me outside, especially about things that aren't true. I was so shocked that day, I couldn't concentrate on work and kept making silly mistakes. Daniel's returns home became increasingly later. He started going out even on his days off, claiming it was for work. At first, I thought maybe he was turning over a new leaf, but at home, his attitude remained unchanged. He didn't lift a finger to help with the chores and was still obsessed with his smartphone games. During this time, a coworker who works with Daniel's company mentioned seeing him getting along well with a woman. Her name is Nora. She's 24 years old and a temporary employee. She loves the glamorous life. Posting picture-perfect shots on social media seems to be not just a hobby but a passion for her. I immediately asked my coworker for Nora's social media account and started checking her posts. Her social media was filled with stylish cafe visits, one-plate meals, night scenes, and casually showcased designer bags, screaming of her need for attention. And then, I saw it, a man's arm in one of the photos. I couldn't help but exclaim upon seeing the photo. The watch the man was wearing was unmistakably Daniel's. It's an antique watch, quite rare and expensive. I remember it well because we had a big argument when he bought it. Daniel must be having an affair with Nora. Given Daniel's penchant for designer items, to Nora, he must seem like some sort of prince. A prince weary of his terrible wife, someone she thought she could marry to become wealthy. That must be Nora's line of thinking, no doubt. I've endured so much from Daniel, I wasn't even sad anymore, no tears came. Looking through Nora's social media, it seemed their relationship started about 6 months ago. When Daniel fell asleep playing games on his smartphone, I quietly took it and checked all his messages and photos with Nora. There was a photo suggesting they had dinner together at an upscale steak restaurant, with a comment from Nora wishing she could show their faces. Seeing these optimistic exchanges between Daniel and Nora left me feeling nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just emptiness. Perhaps I had my flaws. I had repeatedly complained about our division of chores and his spending habits. Daniel clearly resented these discussions. Sure, being criticized right after coming home tired could ruin anyone's mood. But my complaints were for our future. Continuing with Daniel's lifestyle, our finances would have collapsed soon. Maybe my approach was wrong. Slumped in a chair in the living room, I cradled my head in my hands. But that doesn't justify having an affair. I sighed deeply. Even if Daniel had a change of heart and all was forgiven, I could never get past the affair. It was time to divorce Daniel. At that moment, I made a firm decision in my heart. I began by searching for a lawyer to initiate the divorce process. Among my former clients for whom I had designed houses was a lawyer. I promptly arranged a meeting under the guise of a house follow-up and broached the subject of consultation. I was diligently preparing for what was to come, yet I continued living with Daniel as if nothing was wrong. We weren't getting along, but we were still a married couple. I cooked Daniel's meals and did the laundry. Then, one day, Daniel came home in the morning without any prior notice. Reeking of perfume. I couldn't help but get angry at this. What's the meaning of this? It's none of your business what I do. Daniel snapped back, as uncooperative as ever. How can you say that? We're married. And it's not like you were working. What were you up to? I raised my voice without meaning to, pressing him for answers. Daniel, face red with anger, shouted back. Shut up! Just shut up! As he lost control and confronted me. That's it! I want a divorce! Daniel pushed me aside and locked himself in the room. I had a business trip scheduled for that day, so I didn't have time to talk things through with Daniel anymore. I left the house as it was. The day after our fight, when I was yelled at and shoved, I returned from my trip. I'm back. There was a filled-out divorce application form on the desk. I was surprised by how quickly Daniel had acted, but I saw it as an opportunity. It would be troublesome if Daniel hesitated now. You said to file it, so I will. I signed the divorce application and took it to the office. That night, I informed Daniel that the divorce application had been accepted. I didn't want to see his face, but I wanted to tell him about the divorce to his face. The divorce application has been filed and accepted. Daniel looked at me in shock. Ah, this is a relief. I noticed the confusion in Daniel's eyes, but pretended not to see it. I don't need to be here anymore, so I'm leaving. However, we still need to discuss some things regarding the divorce, so let's talk in a month. Yeah, a month from now. Since you filed for divorce, it was your decision. Daniel didn't want to lose out in the divorce, likely feeling guilty about his affair. Just so you know, we don't need to distribute property. Goodbye. I left the room with my suitcase packed with only the essentials. For the time being, I would be living in a hotel. And then, a month later, I visited the house where Daniel and I had lived. Why did you call Nora here? I had invited Nora without telling Daniel. I took a seat and handed them documents outlining the compensation required in the divorce trial. This is what I'm asking for. Are you sure about this amount for the compensation? Once I pay this, we're done, right? Nora looked surprised, probably expecting to pay much more. So, with this, Daniel and I can happily live here, huh? Nora said, gazing dreamily at the Italian sofa, the table, and the German refrigerator in the living room, snuggling up to Daniel's arm. Living in such a stylish house with Daniel is like a dream. Daniel smiled broadly, obviously pleased. I thought they were both greatly mistaken, but chose not to point it out. Nora's social media posts already featured the furniture and appliances of this house as if they were her own. She was looking forward to their life here. Just so you know, I'll be taking everything I bought after we got married. Understand? Daniel's smile faded. Yeah, I get it. Just hurry up and take your things and go. Since I'm younger than Harper, our tastes are different, you know. So, leaving clothes or bags behind. Nora said, throwing a veiled insult my way. Yeah, we don't need your drab stuff. I don't even want to remember you. Daniel added. I sighed lightly. They're too foolish. Or maybe it's Nora's toxic influence. Better to let them keep their misunderstanding. It'll make things easier for me. I thought to myself. That's all for now. The movers will be here in the morning, so be ready. Nora and Daniel were too caught up in each other to even glance my way. Hey, we should change the curtains. They're so plain. Nora said, looking adoringly at Daniel. It seemed Daniel didn't understand what not doing a distribution of property meant. I stepped out and looked back at the house. Enjoy dreaming of your beautiful married life for now. I can't wait to see your faces tomorrow. I walked away, feeling lighter. The next day, I met the movers in front of the house. Daniel and Nora had come to the entrance. Eager to see me off, it seemed. We have another truck parked nearby. There's a lot to move, so we'll start right away. The movers got to work efficiently. A lot? Another truck? What do you mean?
What's going on, Harper?
Daniel and Nora followed, puzzled.
Hey, that's wrong. The furniture, the appliances, they're all mine. They've been here for 3 years. You should only take your personal stuff.
I couldn't hold back any longer and burst into laughter.
Ha! What are you talking about?
Daniel looked at me, bewildered, not focusing.
Remember, I said I wouldn't do a distribution of property. Everything I bought is mine.
Daniel pondered hard. Everything you bought.
Got a problem? Shall we call my lawyer?
I showed the lawyer's contact on my smartphone.
This is the lawyer I've been consulting. Should I call?
Daniel slumped, defeated.
No, it's fine. But are you really taking everything?
He asked in a low whisper.
Don't worry, I'll leave our memories here.
Daniel slumped to the floor. Nora, sitting down beside him, began to unleash her anger. Don't mess around, what's happening here? Make it stop. Daniel just shook his head.
You're so irresponsible. This is your house, do something about it.
Nora's attitude suddenly worsened. Perhaps this was her true nature. There. Daniel suddenly stood up and hurried to the bathroom. After a while, he returned with a bath towel in hand. Indeed, that bath towel was one Daniel had bought. He had bragged about its superb quality, a hotel-grade bath towel. Daniel happily rubbed his cheek against the towel.
All right, I'll leave that towel for you.
Nora suddenly snatched the towel from Daniel and threw it on the floor.
Don't be ridiculous. I'm not satisfied with just this.
Nora was trembling with anger.
What about the sofa? The bed? The dining table? The German washing machine and refrigerator? What are you going to do about those?
Nora, grabbing Daniel by the collar, seemed ready to strangle him. The moving process progressed smoothly, with the second truck arriving to carry things away. The doorbell rang, and I went to answer it to find a plumber. I quickly led him to the kitchen. As the plumbing work began, Nora screamed in dismay.
You're taking that too? That's awful.
Daniel looked on, dumbfounded.
Yes, I bought this kitchen, so I'm taking it with me.
But that kitchen was my dream. Nora cradled her head in despair. Everything inside the house was being taken away.
Isn't this allowed? This is terrible.
Nora, looking over the emptied house, screamed hysterically. The doorbell rang again. I invited in the person at the door, a craftsman in work clothes.
Harper, is it really okay for me to take the wallpaper?
The craftsman asked with a smile.
Yes, this area and the bedroom too.
He immediately started peeling off the wallpaper. Nora, beyond anger, watched in shock.
Do you have to take everything, even the wallpaper? The walls will be bare. It's fine, it's just applied over the original wallpaper. It can be peeled off cleanly. Couldn't you have left that at least?
Daniel pleaded weakly.
What are you saying? Every time you see my things, you'll be reminded of me, which you don't want, right? So, I'm taking the wallpaper too.
Daniel, having initiated this, couldn't respond. I thought to myself, serve you right. Reapplying the house's wallpaper would cost at least $5,000. Not to mention the difficulty of replacing all the furniture and appliances from scratch. If they tried to repurchase what I had selected, it would cost more than a luxury car, including items they couldn't find again. For Daniel and Nora, this would be a costly lesson. More painful than the expenses was the state of the house. What was once featured in interior design magazines now looked like a dull, old second-hand property. For Daniel and Nora, who had dreamed of a sweet newlywed life in a beautiful room, this was an unacceptable reality. Especially for Nora, who lived for her SNS posts. This might be unbearable, given her need for attention. Looking at the empty house, I felt relieved.
Well then, goodbye,
I said with a smile, as I left Daniel and Nora stunned behind me. I had no intention of using the furniture and appliances I shared with Daniel again. They were stored in a friend's furniture shop's warehouse and then sold at auction. Since I had carefully selected these items and took good care of them, they sold for more than I expected, providing a nice fund for my next purchases. I'm now excited about choosing new furniture and appliances for my new place. After a while, Daniel contacted me. He said,
Nora really wants you to see how we've arranged the furniture.
Though I thought about refusing, my curiosity as an architect about what they had done with the place won over, and I decided to visit. I was shocked upon entering the house after a long time. The entrance was dusty, looking almost like a ruin. Entering the house, my surprise grew. The wallpaper hadn't been replaced yet. The furniture and appliances seemed like they were haphazardly collected from a recycling shop. It felt like I was in an old, cheap apartment from long ago. A student's affordable apartment would be several times more stylish than this. Even more shocking was the complete lack of cleaning and tidying. I couldn't help but exclaim,
"This is just too much."
Nora was sulking, propping her cheek on a nearly broken table. "Interior and arrangement are the least of your problems," I complained to Daniel. "We just gathered what we needed to live for now. It's obvious we'll replace them soon," Nora replied grumpily.
"You took everything,"
Daniel said resignedly. Nora gave me a hostile look.
"It's your fault. Use your contacts or whatever to make this place something I can brag about," she demanded.
I realized then that talking to her was pointless. We live in different worlds. "And do you have the money for it? What's your budget?" I asked as diplomatically as possible. I was shocked by the budget Daniel suggested. It wouldn't even cover my consultancy fees.
"That's impossible with such a budget. Useless, huh? So that's what a first-class architect is worth?"
Daniel's words irritated me. He had no idea of the effort and struggle it took to become a first-class architect. No planner or architect can work with such a small budget. Go wash your face and come back with a serious offer. Ridiculous. Nora seemed genuinely to have wanted to make it work with that budget. Suddenly, she slammed her palm on the table.
"Ridiculous? Did you come here just to look down on me?"
At that point, discussing seriously with Nora felt utterly foolish. "If you're going to be like this, I can leave. But you should use that little budget to improve your interior sense."
"Always looking down on us, huh? I don't care if you're an architect or whatever, don't get too full of yourself."
"Enough, Nora." Daniel, looking exhausted, tried to calm Nora down.
"Why should I?" "Daniel, you tell her too."
With a look of exasperation, Daniel held her back. "I'm sick of all this. Just be quiet for a bit." Daniel stood up and forcibly took Nora to the bedroom. When he came back, he apologized to me, surprising me with his unexpected behavior. "I'm sorry for not making sense. After divorcing you, I married Nora. But you see, her life revolves around the likes on SNS, and she has no interest in family life. Plus, she loses her temper like a delinquent when upset. It's been hard every day." I thought to myself that living with Nora's personality would indeed be difficult. observing Daniel, who had visibly aged and become haggard in a short time. Daniel then bitterly shared that they had a big fight after I took everything, and though Nora hated living in this empty house, she had nowhere else to go. "It's your own doing." I coldly dismissed him. "Nora quit her temp job because we got married." I felt trapped too. Ultimately, Nora wanted a life of luxury, and Daniel wanted a young wife to boast about. That must be the case, I suppose. It was clear such a marriage was doomed from the start. Suddenly, Daniel slumped to the floor and begged, "Please, Harper. Let's start over." I replied, fed up. "What is this, some kind of joke? You want to cheat with me?" Daniel shook his head while apologizing.
It was a moment of folly. I realized after you were gone that there's no one better than you. You. Are you stupid? You don't understand anything.
I couldn't even muster anger.
You were the one who wanted me out of this house. And as you wished, we divorced. And now you're backtracking. You should live here with that woman who cares about nothing but likes. Wait, just wait.
Daniel clung to my feet, his tears and snot making me feel disgusted. I kicked him away and left the house. Nora didn't show herself from the bedroom, probably not wanting to admit defeat. Well, I guess I won't be seeing those two or visiting that house ever again. Out of spite, I reported the divorce to Daniel's parents. They apologized to me profusely. It seems they've disowned Daniel. When Daniel and Nora came asking for financial help to buy furniture and appliances, they were turned away at the entrance. I also learned that rumors of the divorce due to Daniel's affair had spread, resulting in him being transferred to a less favorable department, while Nora reluctantly took up a part-time job at a grocery store to make ends meet. Without support from his parents, Daniel and Nora are left to live in that nearly ruined second-hand house. As for my next residence, a real estate agent I know introduced me to a gem of an apartment. It's a low-rise vintage condo, and I've been meeting daily with an interior planner to decide on the decor. As for work, after winning several architectural competitions, I left my office amidst regrets. I've started an architectural firm with a senior colleague who had been inviting me to join for some time. My annual income has significantly increased, but with it comes the luxury problem of being too busy and wanting some leisure time.